All right, guys, welcome back. It's been 2 months. I know, I'm sorry. This game has been very frustrating to me lately, the way the meta has been shaping out. I'm not huge when black runs the meta. It's a very oppressive meta. To me, it stalls any creative style decks if you're trying to be creative and mix things up and not play something meta. I think when black decks are in charge of that meta, it's a little more frustrating as a player who likes to mix things up with something like a choral orchestra deck or more synergistic decks, things like that, without relying on these overpowered legendaries or something like Big Green or things like that. So I was very frustrated. I took a couple weeks off, decided to jump back in with Coral and get my feet wet again. Climbed all the way to 1950 with Coral. Could have kept going and decided I got bored. I wanted to try to bring back something old but make it new and mix it with some new things and make it something completely different that we haven't seen before in the meta and climb up. I've had fun doing this deck and it's been working pretty well. So we're going to go over it a little bit. I call it Trusting Invasion because you're using Bonds of Trust, or if you don't have the Nina skin, you're going to use Ultimate Weapon. It's based around getting your units buff at the same time of the whole plan was to buff up a few units and use them as like big kill shots like in Metsu. But it ended up being like this massive control deck where I'm able to control the field and put pressure on the opponent by like whatever they put on the field, I'm going to destroy it. Like I'm going to burn it, or I'm going to make it so I can take advantage of your units being weaker to make mine stronger in the process and then overtake you. So it's been fun to play. So let's take a look. We use Dual Dragon Hotto. Again, plus, 6 damage card if you have 3 units on the field, which is very good for 2 cost. A Warm Trail is a new card, and it gives 1 friendly red unit +1/+2, and then adds a copy of itself from your deck to the EX pocket. Again, we're trying to buff up some units and then use their buffed abilities to overtake the opponent. I only run 2 Leon. You can run them at 3. I just found the consistency I like better at 2. And we all know this Leon enhances damage effects by +1. I run 3 Mia. Again, you could swap 1 Mia for another Leon. It would probably run a little bit differently, but I use her as a shield chipper. Basically, like when a human unit enters the field, she does 1 damage to a random enemy unit. Hopefully I chip off that shield and I get what I want out of the process. You run 3 Ashley. I'm going to be sad when she rotates out because she's actually really good, because if you have a unit that's 7 or more or 5 or more MP on the field, she gains +1 attack and R charge 3, and we want to get as many rockets or dragons as possible in this deck. You don't have to run Benabra in this deck, but I do because it 1, the flight, and 2, the double chip damage. Again, we're trying to shield break so we can get some bigger plays off with our invasion units or with our damage cards. When placed on the field, deal 1 damage to 1 random enemy unit 2 times. So that's what we're looking for. And he's a 3 cost. And he's not, when played, he's when placed on the field. That's the keyword. So if Leon brings him out, he's still going to proc his ability. New unit, Regina. Rush. After dealing damage to the enemy hero, deal 1 damage, or deal 1 random enemy unit equal number of cards in your EX pocket +1. So you can do it. You could chip for 3, you could chip for 2, you could chip for 1. Again, we're chipping. We're trying to chip for those shields. Invasion makes her better. Invasion 5, gain +1/+1, then deal 1 damage to 1 random enemy unit 4 times. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking to chip shields, chip through those besieged effects, things like that, to make a bigger effect. Stolen Soul, you can run this at 3 if you want. I run it at 2. Give 1 friendly unit +1/+4 and Faith. So that's good. It can proc up Mia with the Faith, or you can proc up your Ashley by giving something like Benabra Faith. Our main targets for this, my main idea was the 7 MP Leon, just because he's got a good stat line, make him super buff. 1 Flash of Valor. We all know that does 6 to the damage in front, and you also get invincible for, I believe it's 13 seconds. Or nullify damage for 5 seconds, sorry. So let's nullify damage for 5 seconds. If you're about to hit somebody, you can do like a double chip. It's really nice. You can run 3 Initializer. Again, I run it at 2. Deal 3 damage to 1 enemy unit. And if it's destroyed, you get plus MP boost 20 for 20 seconds. Which is nice because then you can make these bigger, higher plays a little bit faster. Going on the idea of buffing and chipping, this card is perfect for both. Repelling fire deals 1 damage to one enemy unit 3 times. Bam, you're going to get that. And if it destroys a unit, you get +1/+3 combined with Leon. It's a chip 2 damage, so you can get up to 6. Again, we don't need that destroy effect, but we do want that damaging effect. We do want to chip through shields. We do want to chip through besieges. One of the main units in this deck is the Leon. The 4 MP, he has Rush, and if something is destroyed by damaging effect, he gets +3 HP, so we're trying to get him super buff. His evasion is 6, and he gains +1/+1, then deals 7 damage split among all enemy units. So that's really good. He's going to come out with a bang, hopefully destroy something that's been shipped, get that HP buff, get above those destroy thresholds for those HP-based destroys, and just kind of chip it through there and get buffer and buffer and buffer until he overwhelms the opponent. Heights of Heroism. This card is a key to the deck because you're going to bring out these 3 costs with him. When play, deal 1 damage to the unit in front 4 times. Again, chipping through shields, chipping through besieged effects. And if something's destroyed by damaging effect, place 1 unit in your deck with an MP cost of 3 or less onto the field. So that's why we run so many 3 costs, because we're just going to constantly build pressure by destroying by damaging effect. We run him at 2. And since they buffed this Ryu, I find him better than Fate Defying Ryu, because he does a huge damage on the field when he's dropped. Plus, on attack, he gets Art Charge, so you're going to keep bringing out rockets. And then at Unleash, he's +2/+2, and he gains agility, so he just constantly puts the pressure on. They have to deal with him as soon as he hits the field. Or if it's a late game, they've already used a lot of their resources, they can't deal with him, he's going to overwhelm to win the game. So that's the deck. Let's go take a look at some games with it, and then I'll have like a side deck, cards you can substitute in here and there, and that will be like, it'll change the style of play a little bit, but it could also add up some pressure. So yeah, all right guys, let's go take a look at some games. So this first game here is against Heart Tank. So let's take a look. This is a really good starting hand, I think. You have Legendary Leon for the burn. You have the other Leon to give a little bit more of a buff. And you have Banabra to chip at shields. And this guy goes extreme right off the bat. He's like, I'm getting my units out there. We're going for it. So I decided to invade Leon, and the surprise drop was the T-Rex. Because I would have invaded with that T-Rex, because the invasion is much better than dropping him for 8. Because then I was able to drop a Nabra and make sure that Leon goes exactly where I wanted him to go. So here's our buffing process. We're going to buff up this Leon in case he drops something big in front of it. And I know he's probably going to have an evasive action at some point, but I really want to clear up this EX pocket because I do have Evasion Regina and I do have my Explore. And as you can see, he goes straight into that evasive action. So we Explore, and you could tell he was waiting to proc something, and so he's like, oh, I'm going straight to Gar. What I should have used first was not my Explorer, my Bonds of Trust. I should have used the pinging action instead, because that would have broke the shield and would have done no damage, or actually would have done nothing. So never mind. That's why I didn't use it. Smart me on that one. But then you can see I was saving up to use the legendary destroy act or legendary damage action, and that's pretty much going to be game at this point. He can't counter back. So we're going to leave it there, and we're going to take a look at 2 black meta decks and how this works out. All right, so this game's against DWP. I'm not a huge fan of DWP decks right now. I think Unleash kind of made them very dull and boring and predictable. I'm just going to be honest there. I don't want to talk ill about people's favorite decks, because at one point I loved playing DWP as well. But yeah, so this hand I have here, I feel can really counter or bait an opponent. And that's what you're really going to see in this game, is how I bait them to use their destroys on units that don't really matter to the overall win condition. Do they help in the long run? Yes, but are they my must-use win cards? No, like that Leon's not a must-have on the field to win.
And here's you're going to see another strategy with this deck that's involved with the Banabra, especially against black. If you buff up a flying unit, they feel like they need to destroy it. A lot of people in this game feel like you need to destroy a flying unit if it gets buffed up, I've noticed. And so that's why Banabra, I also use him over some other units that are available. Because it feels like you need to, they feel the need, like, as soon as he hits an attack buff, they need to destroy him. Of course, they have the Wesker early, and they remove my first Leon, and that play that they pulled right there made me notice that they're willing to sacrifice their own cards for me not to gain an advantage, or for me not to get an event off from a destroy, or from my burn damages. So, and we're looking at their third corrosion in the first like 10 cards, so this is fun. Their graveyard is loaded up. They have 28, and then it jumps to 36, which tells me that Tyrant just got invaded. So I need to play this carefully so I could be able to remove the Tyrant without much damage coming my way. And of course they go split lane. I would have liked them to be like middle and top, or middle and bottom. Then I could have dealt with it a little bit easier. But here comes the destroyers, and I'm going to destroy that Tyrant. And again, he's going to try to get some damage off. And I decide to buff Ashley up top. Why? Because I want her to exchange out with that Tyrant up top, and also be able to then further exchange with him later. And of course, they pretty much top deck Wesker to have him come right back at me. So I need to get rid of him quickly so that Ashley could again exchange up top due to Wesker's secondary ability on victory. And I just do the extra buff. I don't know what I was thinking there. It wasn't a smart play. I could have exchanged the other way. But I'll take it. I was able to exchange and get out of there relatively, actually damage-free against those Tyrants and that Wesker. And then here's a Banabra block. That's where I like Banabra too. He's able to chip a couple damage and then fully exchange out with a 2/5 flying unit. So, and now I've hit the advantage, and so now I use Regina to invade and kind of force them into more bad plays. Because I noticed them taking like more risky plays, and then I saw that opportunity with Regina, so I took it. And now I basically can play defensive the rest of the game. I don't have to play offensively at all. I don't have to push the issue by using units. I'm up by 7. I have a ton of destroy options or damage options in my hand. And so now I could literally just play it safe. So I blocked there because Leon's going to be able to hit. And then I used Regina and using just her rush to get a little bit of extra damage in there to get my lead back up to at least 8. And again, I'm just waiting here now. I don't have to play the Ryu. I don't have to play the Ashley. And then I use my buff option there just to put the little extra emphasis on them using that destroy option. And they get a full field back, but I just use Ryu to get myself out of there. And I was kind of going for a kill shot there. Or kind of like the emphasis to be like, get out of my way type thing. But it didn't work out like I knew he was probably going to get destroyed, so... Either way, I was losing him, so I decided to burn an action to get through it. And here's what I mean. I could just block out to win the rest of the game. I don't have to play a card, even in this situation. I don't have to play it, but I did because I knew I also have a big legendary destroy or damage action to respawn in case they try to heal up. And that's game. Let's take a look at one more black meta deck versus this deck. So this deck is against Spike Launch, which I feel, since its buff, has become one of the top decks in the meta. Again, actually probably the top black deck. It's able to erase a field. On top of that, you're able to ascend with your HP Destroy Ascend units, which no comment on those. I think they're very bad for the game. I'm not sour on HP Destroy cards per se, but Ascend units, yes, I am. It's not a good look. So he opens right off the bat with Super Tyrant trying to put pressure on. And the reason I go up top is because I know within the next couple actions, I could basically remove the field without taking very minimal damage. That's kind of what I'm going for here with Regina, hoping she takes out that Oichi, which would make it easier for me. But he has other options, so I have to kind of speed up my plans a little bit and only get the 2 down below. I could have blocked there, but I decided not to save some HP to use, or MP to use Leon. And of course they respond with a Wesker in kind. I am going to have to deal with this Wesker because I don't want to lose to me up top, but then he ascends over the top, which to me was a waste of an ascend. You could have saved that till later. Wesker's ability alone would have gave you the advantage on the field, but I'll take advantage myself and use Leon to rebuild my field. But he's always got some other options for me, and that's fine. But I'm going to buff up my Mia down below, because buffing up Mia is going to give me the opportunity to drop for a human unit for 4 burn damage. And then I also use the secondary thing to buff up my Banabra to get over the top a little bit with some extra damage, force him to have to pick a unit to deal with. And as you see, when I drop the human unit, it's 4, and that Oichi didn't last long. And at this point, I think he's down to 1 Oichi left in his deck, unless he has some sort of revival option, which now they do carry that new card that brings him back and gives you 4 HP. So I decided to invade Regina here to bring the pressure. Like, I literally want to bring pressure at this point and force him to respond. I know I have enough counter options in my hand. And as you can see, he's responding. And I kind of get a lucky break with that Ryu, that he was able to basically get over on that unit. But he was basically able to survive the spike launch and get over and get some advantage. But as you can see, the opponent's in a big hole now, and they're kind of just throwing off spike launches when they can, just to try to keep in this game. So, and here I'm just going to block with Ashley, and pretty much as soon as I'm going to expect a spike launch the way they're playing, as soon as they get it available. So they only have 5 now. They cannot use another spike launch yet, but let's see what they do. He does have a revival option, and he does have another corrosion, but I'm going to destroy this unit quick off the bat, get rid of it. And then basically at this point, I can play defensively the rest of this minute 20 and have him forcibly have to make plays and me respond in kind, which I do here. And that's the best thing about using Kaiser Breath, I think, and Bonds of Trust or Ultimate Weapon, is because you do recover your AP. Basically, the art is only 14 after you use it the first time, because every time you use Kaiser Breath, it's another 2. But then we're going to block with the zombie he gives me. And he's gonna have to deal with the zombie, or otherwise he's gonna have to use his spike launch, or he's gonna have to use his corrosion. He chooses to use his corrosion. And I could basically sit here for 40 seconds and do nothing. And he decides that I was going to do that, and he surrenders. So that's the game. That's this deck. Let's go take a look at some side options. All right, let's take a look at a few side options for this deck. Again, they changed the playstyle of the deck a little bit, not too much, unless you want to go for a full invasion build, and I'll talk about that in a second. But you could always use the Legend versus Death. It's a good burn card. Burns a little bit differently, as it can hit multiple units, and it needs more than one enemy unit on the field to be effective, but it still works. Guy is a good 3-cost option to come out with Rush and hit hard and quickly. Neon Tiger is another good 3 option, as it adds more burn, but I prefer Mia over him, because she burns off human units hitting the field, which this deck has a lot of them. Legend is another Rush option. He would hit for 3, and it has a pretty decent stat line that you can buff and keep going. Hardhead is good as an option, and it's free as well, so you have to think of it that way. It can hit multiple units on the field. This is why I like this one better than Legend versus Death, but you could also use this one, and it works really, really well. Pants on Fire, I'm up in the air about. I think it's a really good card. I do like that it procs, but I don't like the time in between the procs, so the 13 seconds has me hesitating a little bit on it. Grenade Bullets is another one that I think is a good card, but I'm also hesitant on it because it does have to do that buff to damage. Where the other cards we use, they damage to do a separate effect after. We want the damage first, not the damage second, but this is also a good option if this is what you have. Rashid is a good unit option if you want to up the cost of your deck a little bit. Because with Leon, Leon's able to pull another unit on the field. You just drop Rashid right after that, and you can roll with and buff whatever you need to.
Enigma's a good one in here if you're noticing that you're having trouble dealing with those flight units. He gives you anti-air, and he also does a little bit of burn in front, and he has a pretty damn good stat line for a 4 cost. Again, that's upping the cost of our deck a little bit, but still very, very effective. Sakura is another one. If we want to up the cost a little bit, she's still good for that upped cost. She's actually really good for that up cost because she will burn on the field. Combined with something like Mia, she's going to burn for even more. And then she's also got that Unleashed ability, which is really, really good in my opinion, to gain 1+1/+2 and agility. It's just fantastic to roll with. Makau's a good one if you're noticing you're getting stuck with units on the field and you can't respond with anything. Makau's good to ascend into, and combined with something like Rashid, he's able to then load your field up quickly for 4 cost, and with 8, pretty much with a unit on the field and 8 MP, you can load your field for 3 and proc Rashid's abilities to go ham on your opponent. If you want to go more invasion-based, Hunnigan is a good option over Leon, but then it also makes the 3 MP or 7 MP Leon less effective. You could also run her in place of Mia or the Banabras. Again, she's still really good. She's giving you that +1/+1 or that +1 damage effect, and then you also get HP on those invasion units, even though we're only running 4 in this deck. But if you want to run an invasion-based build, you could always put in Gale. Gale's a very good invasion unit. I feel like I want him in this deck, but I just couldn't find his place for him because I was trying to stay as low cost as possible, and I don't want too many cards over 5 MP. But he's still really, really good, and if you want to go an invasion build of this style of play, I would definitely have him in there and have Hunnigan in there as well. Lastly, Fate Defying Ryu is a great option. He does that burn damage to the units in front of him, and with the amount of actions you're pumping out with his deck, he's going to be able to just burn through units, no matter a lot of high units. But I like Hado Ryu better because I like that instant field gratification of the damage rather than I'm going to constantly go. But again, combining Fate Defying Ryu with Leon, Invasion Leon, is going to be ridiculous. You could also combine him with Gale, and it'll be ridiculous the amount of HP and attack you're going to see buffed on those 2 units just because of Ryu. But yeah, that's it, guys. Let's take a look back over at the deck. And thank you guys for tuning in. I know it's been 2 months since I last did a deck video, but I'm feeling, from what I see from this future set coming from Cannon Spikes coming out, I'm very inspired by it. I'm happy to see Explore getting new stuff and Growth getting new stuff. That's really inspiring me to try to create more decks for you guys. I'm hoping to at least do 1 deck every month going forward. If not, do something bi-weekly, depending on how my schedule works out and how inspired I am. Like I said, this set started off really well for me, and then I kind of disliked the meta a lot, so I kind of took a little bit of a break from it. But now I'm back, and I'm excited. So hopefully I can at least give you guys monthly decks, if not bi-weekly. Also, a little bit of housekeeping. I will be streaming on YouTube from now on. I am not happy with Twitch. I'm not happy with Twitch's interface and everything like that. YouTube, I've been testing it with the console games, as you've all probably seen. I'm finding it a lot easier for me. I'm getting ready to start doing some TEPPEN on there as well. I'm just trying to work out some kinks that I'm finding, but it's not as bad as I thought it would be. So hopefully I'll be able to bring that forward for you guys soon. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much. Like, subscribe, leave me a comment, hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on Discord, hit me up even on here on YouTube, and I'm happy to be here for you guys and give you some more stuff in the future. Thank you guys. Have a good one and take care.